is one of those things that, if we're really honest, it's stuck back in the 70s.
So linear TV as we know it will be as much of a relic in 20 years as the fixed line telephone.
Broadcast radio is where the hours are, so that's who we're going after. It's 90% of radio listening still happens on AM, FM, so that's where our growth is going to come from.
My view, as I said before, is that I think over the next 5 years, almost every major product vertical is going to get rethought to be social. Get on the bus.
Clearly, we're in the cable business, and that's the vast majority of what we do. And content's increasingly important to us. Content's incredibly important to our consumers. So I think we're all in the content business, whether we like to be or not.
Well, I think it's great to be, if you're sure of what you're doing, to be a little radical, be an agent of change.
Anybody who's sort of in the business of predicting the future of journalism is going to get clobbered. If you had told me, oh, Jeff Bezos is going to buy the Washington Post, the founder of eBay is going to put $250 million into a new news thing, a blogger from The Guardian will break the biggest story of the year, I would have started laughing.
The passion that we feel for journalism and the opportunity as a business that it creates on all of these different platforms, as we describe them, as maybe the golden age of journalism. Maybe we're walking into the best of all possible eras.
Every single technological innovation in delivery of content advances sports. Sports over-indexes on any of these platforms, so this is all good news for us.
Scariest part is you got 4, 5, 50, maybe 60-year-old people sitting up here trying to tell everyone what's going on with the millennials. I mean, you got to talk to them. You got to learn from your workforce, learn from the research that is available, as opposed to us trying to remember back to when we were that age, because it's not the same. They're not the same today as we were at that age. They have different behaviors.
The bottom line that we found was that you make something social, and that kind of rethinks the whole space. Right? A social version of anything can almost always be much more engaging and outperform a non-social version.
What's the #1 source of video online? Netflix. Interesting. Now, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, is there any scenario where people will use the internet to watch the equivalent of movies? I'd say, you've got to be kidding. It's a terrible use of the internet. And I can give you a long list of reasons why I'm right. But the society has proven that I'm wrong.
The big hard challenges over the next 5 and 10 years are getting more global and getting more into original content. So we're working on both of those.
Facebook is already the way that millions of people get their news, but they're getting it in a fashion that Facebook considers really slow. It's taking an average of 8 seconds between the time you tap on a link inside the Facebook app and the time that the article fully loads on your phone. So they came up with instant articles. It's a way of downloading those articles to your phone at rapid speed, and in so doing, Facebook hopes that you'll start consuming more of those articles than ever before. That means that Facebook will get you to spend more time in the newsfeed, and maybe the publishers who are publishing their articles to Facebook will start seeing more ad revenue. It's a big idea, and it might actually change the future of media.
Linear TV has been dominant for 50 years. And the problem with linear TV is the channel owner decides what you can watch and where you can watch it and when you can watch it. And so the advantage of internet TV, which is really just beginning, is power goes to the consumer. The individual gets to choose.
Is the content that you'll see there will be showing up on Vessel before it shows up anywhere else. And so this is a fan service. This is where people who are passionate about content go to watch that content first.
And while there is a free ad-supported version, Kyler expects most people to pay $3 a month for exclusive early access to videos before they're posted elsewhere.
70% of all advertising goes back to the video creator, and subscription dollars go back to the video creator as well. So to give you a comparison, on the free web, a video creator typically earns about $3 per 1,000 views. On Vessel, we project that they will make over $50 per 1,000 views.
Do you think there'll be a magical journalism device that will make all of us at The Economist redundant, and you will produce the Google version of The Economist make?
What's interesting about technology is that we do a pretty good job of catching up to the basics. And we don't do a very good job of genius, right? So if you take a look at Google News, many of you use Google News, it does a pretty good job of assembling the obvious stuff, but it doesn't have a lot of insight. So the role of journalists, in my view, is going to be the role of insight, and it's going to be a long time. So here's an example. We had a project inside of Google to write things, but if you read it and you have a good author, you can see the difference. That's, I think, where we are. It may be that 50 years from now, the systems will be so powerful that they can replicate the kind of special insight that journalists and reporters and people who are practitioners have, but it'll be a long time.
So we come together before you on this day, March 30th, 2015, with one voice in unity, in the hopes that today will be another one of those moments in time, a moment that will forever change the course of music history. For today, we announce the launch of Tidal, the first ever artist-owned global music and entertainment platform.
Apple Music, the next chapter in music.
It's all the ways you love music, all in one place. And that place is almost in 1 billion hands around the world already.
You can search your music library, but now you can search and stream the millions and millions of songs that we have on iTunes. Apple Music will be just $9.99 a month, the cost of an album.
Spotify announced Wednesday it's going to add video and podcasts through media partnerships. Spotify founder and CEO Daniel Ek is with us at the table. Daniel, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Okay, so everybody knows Spotify for music. Why video?
Well, you know, we kind of looked at the biggest moments where people were listening to music. And what we found is that when asking really users why they weren't using Spotify more in those moments, they were saying that they were doing more than just listening to music. So if you think about the growth of smartphones, so we've got now 4 or 5 billion smartphones in the world. I don't know who in the world doesn't like music. So the way we're thinking about this, every person on this planet that has a smartphone will use it to play music. And the vast majority of them will use streaming as that way of listening to music. And if you think about that, we're still in the early days and probably have more than 10 times growth less. So we're really all trying to grow the market, not fight over market share.
CarPlay is Apple's first attempt to actually have a UI in the car. They're taking over the screen of your car.
Well, in the last couple of hours, it's gone to the #1 podcast in the UK. Good news for Dana Chivis, who's one of the producers on Serial, who joins us from New York. Dana, why is this such a phenomenon, do you think?
Well, I think this is a tried and true kind of format. You know, true crime stories have that natural narrative tension to them that people are very interested in. It's definitely the best of both traditions. You know, it's modern in that it's a podcast. We're not on the radio, actually. We're podcast only. But this is one of the oldest sort of forms of storytelling.
An exciting time to be, in this business, and I think broadcast radio is not very well prepared for it. So our ambition is, to have a substantial share of this industry.
I would answer very simply that the internet will disappear. The internet there'll be so many IP addresses because of IPv6, so many devices, sensors, things that you're wearing, things that you're interacting with, that you won't even sense it. It'll be part of your presence all the time.
So if you're the content business, think about this for a second, right? Data is the new oil. That's your money. All the data that people are sharing, producing, generating, is worth more money than oil was for a long time. We were, of course, in an oil-driven economy. Now we're in a data-driven economy. I think the money is in the data. Ask Google, right? $2.9 billion a month made with free stuff through data.
The way to think about search is to think that search is imperfect because it gives you a lot of choices. We would like to be able to give you the one answer that's correct. And so and again, you have to opt in, and this is all voluntary and all that kind of stuff, the more information that you tell us about yourself, the more accurate the result can be. The next generation of search will be much more targeted at you And in fact, we may be able to get to the point where we suggest what you should be searching for.
So this is how I see broadcasting networks. Broadcasting networks are a very professional teams that's supposed to develop, execute, and frame content to large audience. It has nothing to do with the infrastructure or the screen is going to be. It also challenged the concept of what is content. What is a content when I can change it in real time? What is an interview with a president means when 30,000 people are here and they're asking questions?
We invented 5% of what could be invented into music services. So the market driver in the coming 2 years at least will come from product innovation, will not from marketing tricks, will not come from commercial power, it will come from product innovation.
It's so easy to add, it's hard to edit, it's hard to stay focused, and yet we know we'll only do our best work if we stay focused. And so, you know, the hardest decisions we make are all the things not to work on, frankly.